Hello, this is Olya, right? This section, we are going to learn how to import data in R. There are several packages that are used for importing data in R, but in this section, we will only look at three of them. readr and vroom, or readr, vroom, and readxl. readr is part of the tidyverse family of packages, and vroom is also part of tidyverse that is a potential replacement for readr. It is faster, so I have recently adopted at work because it can read files faster than readr. readxl is for importing Excel files. So let's get started. First, we will need to create or open our Markdown file and give it a name. It doesn't matter what you name it or what you call it. I'm gonna say importing data into R, and then we don't need everything there. And so here I will use the global settings section or chunk to add the libraries that we are going to work with. So loading the libraries. And let's complete this by suppressing messages and warnings. I always like to line up the equal signs. And then now let's import the libraries. First, tidyverse. Then vroom and readxl, sorry. So vroom has 8 packages. tidyr, readr, ggplot2, purrr, forcats, stringr, etc. And then so now let's run it. And next we will start importing the data. And the data that we are going to work with is the South Sudan 2008 census data. If you are on Mac, to insert the code chunk, you have to press the option and then the command key and letter I, or simply you come here and select R. You see there are other options here, but we are working mainly with R, so just click R, but I use the shortcuts. And import data. We will give it a name. Doesn't matter what you call it. It's good to give it a name that is meaningful and easy to understand. Shouldn't be too long. So I like to do it like this. So SS, which is South Sudan 2008 census data raw. And then now we will read. Since we have already imported or load readr using tidyverse, we can just call read underscore CSV. And then we need quotations. And then we will get the data. No, yeah, we don't need that. And then raw, and we need, yeah, this is what we need. Now control or command return, and this will import the data. Now we see that our data set has 10 columns and 453 rows. So rows are the observations, columns are the variables. What I have not done is we need to save our scripts. So we come here, we need to save them in R. That's where we keep our scripts, and we will call it importing data with read data in R. Okay, so let's look at, there are a few things we can do. It is a good practice to inspect the few first rows and the last rows. So we can use the hit function from base R, and this will give us the first 6 rows, and we see that we do not have like missing values here. There's another function that was released with deploy R 1.0.0. It's a slice underscore hit, and this is what I like to use. We have to tail it the number of rows that we would like to show. And now we see this. Next, we can also inspect the last few rows. So slice underscore tail. Maybe we need to look at the last 10 rows. And so here we see there's an NA here because at the bottom columns are too long, so that is why we didn't see, but there are 3 rows at the bottom with missing values. When we are doing the data wrangling, we will have to remove those since they are not important. And the way I know that they are not important, this one is just blank. This is the name, the National Bureau of Statistics, South Sudan, and this is the link where we obtain the data. So those are not necessary. So before the release of deploy R 1.0.0, tail is the function that we use. Let me show you another way. So you can pipe your data into the function. On Mac, it's command or shift command and M, which is shift control shift enter on PC. And then it's the same thing that we got up there, but I like the newest function, slice underscore tail. So this is how you import data into R using readr. I mentioned earlier that vroom is a potential replacement of readr, and it is faster. So let's see how we can use the vroom package. So importing data into R with vroom. Just the same thing, so we're gonna do this, but instead of doing that, let's say census row maybe 2, or maybe vroom. Doesn't matter, just to differentiate it from the previous data of a file. And then all you have to do is just call vroom And okay, so we have to do the dot dot to get there, and then it's wrangled, and this is what we want. And here, when you see here, so we have the options just like in readr, which I will show you shortly. We can specify the delimiter, call underscore names true, and then call types, which we can specify if we need or if it's necessary, and then call underscore select. Again, just like read or vroom allows us to specify the columns that we are interested in to reduce the volume of our data that, or the volume of data that we are importing into R. The most important option here is the skip, which is set to by default to 0. Looking at our data from what we have already imported, there are no rows that we need to remove because the first row has the column names, and this is exactly what we want. So there is no reason, or it's not important or necessary for us to specify the skip. So now let's import this and see what we have. Make sure this is the right one. Yeah, this is the right one, and it is exactly the same data that we have here. The reason I'm showing you is that vroom is a little bit faster than readr. And so you see here we are seeing these messages. So what we can do inside, we can come here, say comma, and then show underscore call underscore types. We're going to set it to false. I need to bring it to the second line. And then now when we do that, we don't see those messages. And this is how you import data into R using the vroom package. So let me come back here. And so let's read this one and see if we will see the messages. So now this is saying it's not found. So we need to specify the dot dot. And we are seeing the same messages here saying column specifications and so on. So we need to also add show underscore called false to suppress that message. Now we do, and we are not seeing it again. Again, we can use the glimpse function to look at the data types of our data set. And we see here we have 453 rows or observations, 10 columns. And so the region name. So region names, these are the names of the states. There are 10 states in South Sudan. And the other columns are not important. The next column that is important is the variable name, which is, it has the rows or population description, whether it is the total population or it is the male or female population, or by row, by state as well. And then the age, but age name is the next important column, which has the age categories. Here it says total, so the total is the roll up of the population, and 0 to 4 and so on. Those are the age categories. These are the one. This is saying the units and the scale, the units, which is, this is the population. So these are person or people. And then 2008, which is the population counts. So in R, when a column name is numeric, it is enclosed in the backticks. That is why 2008 has been enclosed in the backticks. We can see the data types of each column here. So the first one is the character. So CHR is character. And all the columns are character or of character type. except the population column, which is 2008, which is doubled or numeric. So double and numeric, they mean the same thing in R. We can also do the same thing we did above by looking at or inspecting the first 5 rows and the last 5 rows, or whatever number of rows you would like to inspect, to make sure it gives you just a better understanding of your data, whether there are missing values or not. So I'm going to use the slice underscore head, and it's this data here. If I don't specify it, and if I don't tell it the number of rows, if we run it, we will only see 1 row. That's why it is important to tell R what you are like, number of rows that you would like to see. And then slice underscore tail, it's the same thing. And let's say maybe 15. And this you have to scroll to the right to see, and keep going. Yeah, this is the last one. And so let's go. And then now we see these 3 last rows are NAs, or they're just blank. So this is how you import a flat file or CSV files or CSV files into R using readr and vroom. So let's move on to the next function, which is readr, working with the Excel files. So importing Excel files or sheets. Here, what I would like to show you here is how to import multiple Excel files and multiple or an Excel file with several sheets. So first, let's look, before we go there, let's look at, let me pull up, so let's say question, read Excel, read underscore. So we can either use read underscore Excel or read underscore XLS, or read underscore XLS, which is, this is for the recent Excel type. This one is, I think, Excel 2007 or something data type, but mostly we use the first one or the second one. The first one is going to read both of these two. If you know what your file is, if it's like of this type, you will see the extension. If it's like this, then you can use this. Otherwise, use the read Excel, read underscore Excel. If we look at it here, we will see that, so this is what it's telling us here. And so what you do, you give it the path to your file, tell it the sheet name or number. It's null here because you might have a file with only one sheet. If that is the case, so the Excel will just import, read underscore Excel will import the first sheet. And then the range, again, call underscore names equal true, calls typed, we can be specified, null, and so on. And then the most important option here is the skip again, to skip some of the rows that are not necessary or important. And so let's look at how to read in Excel files. We will, so another package that is important is the FS package, which we can use to create. So the file system is what it is. So we can use it to create directories, to read the, to get information about the directories and so on. So this is another way that you can call a package without, or call a function without loading the package. And what we want is the directory list. This here is going to give us the path to our data set. So let's say, so the first thing we will do is import Excel or multiple Excel files. And so here we have to do the dot dot and then go there and go there and then multiple underscore files. And this is what we have to do. Just say, okay, this is what we want. Now, because in this directory, I know I only have Excel files. If we had a mixture of Excel, PDF, CSV, then the regex, we could have set it to whatever it is. For example, we could have said this one is equal to Excel. It's not necessary in my case or in our case, but just for the sake of example, we can show it like that. And then we do this. Now we see these are the Excel files that we have in this directory. What we will do is name it. So we're going to say path, maybe path as purrr, and then enter it. And now there are different ways where we can import these multiple Excel files. You can loop, we can use a for loop, and which is not efficient, but I will show you. And then later on we use purrr to import them, which is more efficient than for loop. So to use the for loop, we have to set, now we get our path or directories. We give it a name, so we say, I'm going to say files, well, let's say excel.raw, and we will set it equal to table. And then now we will say, okay, for, and then we can either say I or path. Since these are like path, we will say for path in path, and then we will say maybe file raw, or yeah, let's say Excel file raw, and then we will read Excel, and then we want to read each path at a time. And then we want, each time we read in each file, we want to append it to this file here, the major or the combine, the folder that the main file that is going to combine all the files. So we will say bring us that, and then what we will do, we're going to do the bind underscore rows. We take our main file and then the file that we are reading each time. Then we know we have already loaded those. We load this and then we load this. And when we do that, we will come and check on the right side to see. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, no, that's not it. Okay, yeah, it's here. So when we do this, now we have combined, so we pulled 10 different files and we combined them. So this here is telling us there are 10 files, and we can also see here that there are indeed 10 different files. But when we look through them and then we combine everything here, now we have our data set here. One interesting thing here is that the blank rows have been excluded. And the reason they are excluded, or yeah, let me not mention it now. But yeah, they have been excluded because we have 450, but here we have 453. And I think the reason they have been included is because we have added in this data set, we have added this column saying former regent. And because the last three rows do not fit into any of the three former regions, that is why they have been excluded. That's my guess. But this is not efficient, so this is not the best way to do it. So what is the best way to do it? The best way to do it is to use the purrr package from tidyverse. So importing multiple Excel files with purrr. Again, so we need the path and then instead of looping through, what we can do is say, okay, let's call it ss underscore 2008 Excel, and this is going to be, let's say, purrr. And then the path, we will pipe it into, we need to let's set the names, because there are times when it is important for you to retain the file names. Here we see the names, they have been named using the states. But when we look inside our data set, we see that there's a column there is already an existing column for the state names. Also here, but for the sake of example, I'm going to show you in case your files do not have the name that you want to retain or to identify them or differentiate them inside the files themselves. So we will say set underscore names, and we will pipe this into mapped. And mapped that we will use, there are different variants of map or the mapped function. So let's look it up. And so here we see different types. So the main one is the map, and it has variances like map underscore logical, or map underscore integer, or map underscore doubled, and map underscore char, and map underscore DFR for data frame row wise, and DFC data frame column wise, and so on. The variant that we are going to use is going to be just the data frame. Because we are combining our data, we are taking all the 10 files and we will combine them row wise. That's why we are going to say, okay, and map underscore data frame. Now, what is our function? Our function is read excel, and then the path is going to be equal path. And then now, if we want to retain the column names, then maybe we can say file names or file name. And then now let's run this. Okay, so let me run this one first and then run that. So, okay. Okay, so I had put in the path, but it was telling me that path must be a string, so I removed it. And now let's go and check if we have correctly imported our data or our files. That's not it. Yeah, it's this one. And again, so this is what we added, the id.id. And we see that, so this is Central Equatoria, it's Central Equatoria here. It's not necessary in this data set, but it is important in some other conditions whereby you don't have the same column in your data set. So instead of doing the for loop like here, which is not efficient or slow, we just use the purrr package and we have imported those. So this is how you import multiple Excel sheet or files using the purrr package. Now, how about multiple Excel sheets? Let's look at it. Importing multiple Excel sheets. It's the same purrr. And the path is different. So let's say Excel sheets path. And so we're gonna do the fs oops. And it's this one. So there is actually one file with multiple sheets, so we don't need this. So what I will do is just remove that and just do this. And so this is it here. There's only one file. And then so we will do exactly almost what we have done here. So we say ss underscore Excel sheets, and then so Excel underscore sheets and path, and then we will pipe it because we are working with the Excel sheets. We have to use the Excel sheets function from readxl. So let's run this one and see what we have. And let me see it. So instead of doing that, let's do this. So these are the sheets we have. We have one main file with these sheets in them. There are 10 sheets. It's basically the same data set that we have imported previously that we are still working with, but instead of being files, different files, they are now different sheets. And then next, we are going to pipe this into set names in case we need to retain the file names or the sheet names. And now we pipe this into, again, we are working with the data frames here. We want to combine them row-wise, mapped underscore diet, and then we read underscore Excel, and then say ID equal, let's say, just say file name. Let's try this. Okay, so this one we have to input, it says path does not exist. So let's say path, we have to include or tell it the path. Path equaled Excel sheets. Yep, and now we have successfully imported that data. Let's try to find it. This is it. And so you see the file names, because these are the names of these are the sheet names. They are just clean state names, just like here. But in this case, we don't need them. This column is not important. It is not important for us to retain the sheet names because we already have that column inside here. But it is also important because it can tell you that the data has been imported correctly. So basically, this is how you import data into R. There are several other packages that I have not mentioned, but these are the main packages that you will be using on a daily basis as a data analyst or a data scientist. Please let us know if you have any questions, and don't forget to follow us and subscribe, like this video, and share the message with your connections. Thank you.